So I'm not exactly sure what day it is today because I left Sydney Airport for San Francisco on Monday morning, and now it's Monday morning again. Well, it's not Monday morning, it's Monday afternoon now actually in San Francisco. So I got 2 Mondays because that's what happens when you fly across the Pacific. You get an extra day or you lose a day. And so last time I did a video, I think it was day 106. So I think today must be 108. And I've just been pretty much wiped out all day from jet lag. I tried not to sleep this morning, but failed at that one. So I am just trying to stay up now so that I can sleep through the night. And I'm out in the bay with Scoresby the dog. And it's fucking cold. I always have a hard time getting warm in San Francisco. It's often very, very windy, and I really need to rug up. So I'm feeling kind of homesick already for the warmth of Australia and being able to walk bare feet and have hardly any clothes on. Something that I really, really miss because I love having my skin out. I love being in physical contact with my environment around me, with the air especially, and the sun and the warmth, and feeling my feet on the earth is really important to me. Just really connects me back to my groundedness and nature, which I really need on a regular basis, on a daily basis. So today I'm feeling a little bit lonely and sad and homesick already, and yeah, I'm grateful that I've got this really beautiful place to stay here in San Francisco with my best friend and her family. They're just really beautiful people who I love very, 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 very much. So it's a really nice place to transition for me. One thing I wanted to talk about today was the way that we speak about ourselves and the way that we speak about our lives. So often we can have a really negative internal dialogue with ourselves. So if we listen to the way that we speak to ourselves and the way that we mentor ourselves, a lot of the time it can be actually really negative, and we can put ourselves down a lot. And also just in our everyday conversations, how do we speak about ourselves? Do we call ourselves names, and do we speak down about ourselves in public and in the conversations that we have with people? Or do we lift ourselves up and speak well of ourselves? And I think this is a really hard thing for a lot of people, because a lot of people don't want to sound like they're big on themselves, or they're, all puffed up in their ego. However, it's really important to acknowledge ourselves as good people and loving people and kind people and people with good open hearts. It's really important to acknowledge that, because we need to acknowledge that, and we need to hear that from ourselves. And if we're constantly telling ourselves that we are no good, or that we're crazy, or that there's something wrong with us, or that we're weird, or anything that kind of puts us down and doesn't lift us up and isn't generative to our highest potential, is not actually serving us. So the language that we use for ourselves to describe who we are as people is really, really important, because that's what we're putting out into the world. So our language and our words are really, really important, and the energy that we put out into the world. So when we talk about ourselves with our internal dialogue, it's really important to pay attention and see, are we saying nice things about ourselves? Are we saying nasty things about ourselves? How are we mentoring ourselves? How are we encouraging ourselves or putting ourselves down internally? And then when we're in conversations with other people, how do we speak about ourselves? Do we lift ourselves up? Are we afraid to lift ourselves up? Are we afraid to talk good about ourselves? Are we afraid to acknowledge our greatness and our beauty and our shining light? And are we just putting ourselves down and devaluing ourselves? So it's important to pay attention to that, because the way that we speak to ourselves is often what we're putting out into the world, and it's not necessarily how people see us. We may have a really negative internal dialogue and speak about ourselves in a really negative way. However, other people might have a very, very, very different opinion of us and think that we're absolutely beautiful, shining lights. So it's important to pay attention to the way that we see ourselves and lift ourselves up in our own eyes. And that is definitely a part of self-care. Self-care is about really coming back and seeing the good in ourselves among other things, and connecting with that goodness that dwells within us and putting that out into the world. So that's day 108, I think.